So what did we really learn about the rental market because of the COVID pandemic?
So, something I bring up, probably anyone that's gone to our meetings has heard it so many times. I'm probably annoying with it, but the most important process in the rental business is the background checks and how thorough you are with qualifying a tenant. That's by far the most important. And I mentioned that for a bunch of reasons, but one specifically is, during the pandemic, we had 3 evictions. All 3 evictions took place on tenants that we did not place. They were on tenants that we inherited. It was a personal investment of mine that I bought, I bought a few properties and it was a tenant inside it, or I took over management from another portfolio and these tenants were in place. And they were evicted for some, I won't go into details, all the reasons, but they were evicted, just the 3. If you do a really thorough job on your background checks and you only rent to individuals who can prove their income, prove that they've paid in a timely manner in the past with their other landlords, and I won't go into the whole list of things, but there's just so many things you need to look at. You will safeguard yourself as best you can over a situation like this, because we had no one default. Now, a lot of tenants, a lot of companies that were managing property with tenants, for example, that were in businesses that were affected greatly by the pandemic, like cash-based businesses. For example, what I mean by that is a bartender, maybe a hairstylist, restaurant employee. Those are all good, good employments and jobs, but they can't prove their income. So when someone applies for our properties and they're in one of those professions, they still have to show, we have to see their bank statements or pay stubs showing the actual amount of money they make. And if they're not depositing in that cash and showing it, they don't qualify. So we don't rent to many, not on purpose, but they just can't qualify. So what I learned, probably one of the biggest things I learned, well, just really reiterated what I've kind of always preached, is qualifying your tenants is the trick to a successful investment, real estate investment on rental property. By far, the most important part's a tenant. And if you go off, I've had a couple of investors throughout the years tell me, I just go off the feeling I have when I meet with them. I'm being like, that's not good. That's not the best way to safeguard. I want to see it in writing. I want to see it through the bank. I want a background check pulled. I've told you this back in the day. There's a guy that I showed a property 2 years ago. I'll never forget it. Showed him the property, clean cut, well-spoken. Fit the mark of someone you'd think would be able to take care of his finances. And I said, hey, we're gonna do a background check. And so we went through the whole spiel and he said, oh yeah, no, I'm clean, I'm good. And did his background check and he was wanted in Ohio. But had we not, and it had all these issues on his background. But if I would have gone off my thought of the guy initially, I'd have ran into him all day long. So you just gotta be real thorough in the background. That's the trick to the whole thing. And I'll add to that too, is have them read the lease that they're gonna sign before they move in. And in your lease, you should be pretty clear what your expectations are. Maintenance issues that they're responsible for and that they should handle. If a tenant says to me after they've been approved, for what they've shown, then reads the lease and say, I'm not signing this because I'm renting, I don't want to fix anything, or I don't want to take care of anything. I think, good luck with your next property because you're not renting from us. We want tenants to take ownership of the home and treat it as if it's their own. When a tenant says, hey, can I put flowers in the front of the house? I'm like, absolutely. You want to make it your own home and you're trying to take care of it, make it look nicer. That's a good tenant. But that's probably by far the biggest thing I learned is don't go off a cash-based job where they're not putting it in the bank and show they have it. And do your background checks. Because we had literally zero, knock on wood, zero issues with tenants that we had placed ourselves. It was all other tenants that we'd taken over during during COVID and the pandemic. So huge lesson,
All right.